When I first saw Kelly's commercial and I first kind of learned a little bit about who Kelly is as a person and started doing my own personal research, my first initial thought was how relatable she is to so many Kentuckians, because so many of us can relate directly to having an empty seat at our table. And that looks different for everybody. It's not a cookie cutter empty seat. It's not a one size seat fits all, or every family in Kentucky. I personally have experienced having empty seats, plural, at my table, as many people in my immediate family have had a substance abuse problem, directly pertaining to my father, who is in recovery and has overcome his battle with drug addiction. But for majority of my childhood, there was that empty seat at the table. And although he may have been there presently, he really wasn't there, if that makes sense, because of the substance abuse. He missed pretty much my entire senior year of high school and my junior year of high school due to incarceration. So that was very much an empty seat at my table. And those were huge life moments that I remember him not being there for. And due to this epidemic that's going on across our state, it is progressively getting worse. And while my father has overcome his addiction and is very successful, it does not take away from the pain that we had during the time that his seat was empty. He was in and out of treatment facilities majority of my life and majority of my childhood. And while my parents did try to shelter me from those life experiences and what was truly going on, I knew something was wrong. I knew that his behaviors and his patterns of missing my activities and missing games and missing things that I was at was not normal. And I knew, when your dad goes away for an extended period of time to a rehab facility, you may not understand as a child where he is, but he's not there.
Absolutely.
Growing up around the disease of addiction and growing up witnessing firsthand what it does to a family, because that empty seat does affect literally every member of the family, whether you are the addict or not. It causes trauma, it causes pain, it causes things and life experiences that you have to go through, based upon things that you didn't directly do, or they weren't necessarily self-inflicted upon you, but you're involved due to the result of someone else's action. It really gave me a passion in my life to want to help other people understand how it affects the entire family. Just as Kelly mentioned during her commercial, she's a mother and she's experienced it. I'm a daughter, I've experienced it. I'm a sister, I've experienced it with my brother. There were several years of my life that he was not in my life at all. And the constant worry of wondering if that person in your family is dead or alive, if they're going to make it. Did they take one too many prescription pain pills? Did they overdose? That is the person's reality when they are living with an addict. It's not like that person just goes away and disappears and everything's great. Like, you worry day in and day out. Did I cause this? What role did I play in this? Am I the reason that my dad chose to be an addict? Which I've learned now, as an adult, that that's not the case. But going through my life experiences truly lit a passion in me to help other family members. And I've had a lot of great life experiences in my life. I had the opportunity to compete in the Miss Kentucky system, and I chose prescription drug abuse. That was my father's drug of choice at the time, as my platform. I was able to work with legislation on passing the Casper system, and this was obviously many years ago, things that have been in effect now to stop people from doctor shopping and stopping. Back then, Kentucky was essentially the pill mill. So it was a different type of drug than the crisis that we're facing now. However, it lit a passion in me based upon my life experiences to go out and share with other people that you don't have to be a product of where you're raised. And just because there's an empty seat in your family or at your table doesn't mean that that has to continue. You can break that generational cycle. You can be anything that you want to be, and you don't have to necessarily be a product of where you're raised. And I've had the opportunity to go into a lot of schools, a lot of different atmospheres and environments and speak publicly on my platform of drug addiction and helping stop that in the great Commonwealth. And luckily for me, that empty seat is now filled by my father, who has been clean for several years and is a very active role in my life. We work closely together. We own a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center together in Central Kentucky, where we're able to really come full circle with our empty seat at the table and help other people help their families as well. I work directly with the families that are in recovery, helping them understand how to be supportive for their loved one that is facing this terrible epidemic that seems to be nationwide as well as here on our home front. And we work with clients in particular level of care, fight drug and alcohol addiction. So it's really been great that it has come full circle for us and that now that empty seat is filled again. My heart breaks for those that didn't get that opportunity. I personally lost another close family member due to drug addiction, and he's no longer with us. And that was really kind of the light switch for my dad, I would say. 12 or 13 years ago, losing a family member opened his eyes and made him realize, I'm probably going to be next and I need to do something about this. So thankfully for me, the empty seat is now filled, but the pain and the burden and the things that I went through as a child, of course, I forgive those that have caused those situations and life experiences, but the pain of that empty seat never goes away. I can remember being, a young high school girl and in college and dating and thinking, I'm never going to get married because I don't expect my father to be here for that ceremony. And it's such a traditional time, the bride is walked down the aisle by her father, and just life memories like that you think, now I am happily married. My father was here for my wedding. I'm thankful for those things. But those life experiences don't ever go away. You learn to deal with the trauma and the pain that's caused from the empty seat, just like Miss Craft has. However, you don't ever forget. I think it's very significant that the ad be displayed for all of Kentucky to see, because so many Kentuckians face this problem. When it was pertaining to particularly prescription drug abuse, and when that was running rampant in our state, it's 1 in 3 people abuse prescription medication. And if you look, most families have more than 3 people, and it's affecting literally the entire state. And now, that we have put legislation in place to stop things like the Casper system and doctor shopping and the pill mill, people are turning to the street drugs and fentanyl and a variety of different things that are just as deadly, if not worse. So it's only getting worse. It starts a way bigger picture than just the state of Kentucky, but I do think that it's very relatable what Ms. Craft is trying to do here on the home front. And I 100% support that. It is a relief for me to know, as someone who has sat at my table with an empty seat, that someone cares. So sometimes in this field, or working in this field, we feel like maybe our voice isn't always heard. People tend to stereotype our clients. People tend to stereotype your family if you have an empty seat at the table. And, that's someone's dad. That's someone's brother. That's someone's daughter. That's why I choose to work in this field and choose to work in this industry, is because no one ever gave up on my dad, and someone gave him that opportunity to get that seat back at our family table. Did it cost him a lot? Yes. Did it cost him a lot of things? Yes. But no one ever gave up. And sometimes from a legislation perspective, you feel like your voice doesn't really matter in this industry because, people tend to give up on those in the industry and those empty seats very quickly. They're judged easily. But it's nice to know that Ms. Craft understands that it is a problem and that every family is facing it, or most families are facing it, and that she can relate to it.
Absolutely. And just
Well, my background is in journalism, and I do completely understand how the media works. I understand their perspective and probably why they're trying to twist this and spin this, and essentially the reasons behind that. However, it is disheartening to me because I feel like, I was that kid with that empty seat. And yes, my seat is full now, but that pain never goes away. And those memories that I have from my childhood and young adulthood, before my dad became sober, before he was able to have such a great career now, that those memories will never leave me. That just because he's back in my life does not make up for all of the time that his seat has been empty, and all of the things that he missed in my life, and those moments that I will never get back with him. Yes, he's there now, and I'm so grateful and thankful that he overcame his battle with addiction. But that definitely doesn't take away the things that we lived through as a family when he was fighting it, the time that he was gone during incarceration, the questions that I felt as a kid, the trauma that I was put through, and the things that I witnessed. Just because his seat is full now does not take away from the pain that has been there. And my prayer and my hope is that everyone that is fighting this pandemic that is going on, that their seats become full again, and that they have the same story that I share with Miss Craft, and that we get to build those bridges back. And oftentimes I know people don't get that opportunity. Like I said, I lost an uncle in my own home, actually, and witnessed that trauma and the things that happened in that situation due to this crisis that's going on in our state. And it pains me to think of those that don't get that same benefit and don't get to see it come full circle. However, I think that you can relate to this no matter whether your seat is full or whether it is empty.